What's up everyone and welcome to a new video, and today we're going to talk about Far Cry 6 because from now on we really want to dive deep into this game because we think this is going to be one of the biggest upcoming games of 2021, and there is actually a lot that we can already tell about the released media, so all the screenshots and the teasers. And David, I think it all starts with this teaser, right?
Yes, this trailer really shows where they're going with the story.
And based on this teaser, we can already judge that this red substance, this red gas, is going to be the central plot device of the game. And how is this used in the game, David?
Yeah, so it looks like they're spreading the whole island with this red substance. Probably everything that grows on the island is being infected.
That's right, David. So in this teaser, you can see the whole cycle, right? So they're making in these tobacco plants, tobacco, it gets infected with this red stuff, whatever they are producing, which is probably being supplied by El Presidente. Then it moves into their bloodstream, like you can see over here. And then in the next shot, we see that they are basically producing pills out of necessity to submit the population. And in the next shot, we then see here El Presidente, and if we watch a little bit further, we can see here the gold, because of course he is probably making a big fat profit out of selling these pills, and that is basically how he controls the population. That will be basically the central plot device, and you can see here the population is clearly being suppressed, and they are spraying this red stuff all over the crops and the other plants on the island.
Yes, and speaking about the island, there's already a piece of the map we can see from Far Cry 6. It was actually released in one of the collector's editions for Far Cry 6. It clearly already shows that we're gonna have a really big map.
Yes, indeed, and it's not much what we can see on the map, but actually you can already make out a couple of things. For example, we can see already that there are at least 4 different regions. So you can see here one over there, then here, and over here. And then inside these regions, it looks like you also have little townships. So over here and over here. And here you have the capital of the game. So that is called the Esperanza, this big urban city, because this will be the first time that Far Cry will have a large urban environment where a majority of the game will also take place. So of course you will still go through the island, probably liberate some outposts, just free roam, hunt wildlife, but you will also have the ability to go to this big sprawling city in the north of the island. And the island of Yara, it clearly takes its inspiration, of course, from Cuba, because Yara is also subject to a revolution like Cuba was in the past, and also because it's really isolated and separated from the rest of the world, so that El Presidente, so Anton Castillo is his name, so he can basically submit the population to his pills. So that is really where Yara, the island, takes its inspiration from the island of Cuba, of course.
Yes, definitely. And we actually seen Esperanza in one of the few screenshots Ubisoft released. By looking at the screenshots, we are for sure gonna get some skyscrapers. There's gonna be a lot of vertical gameplay to explore, which we haven't really seen before in other Far Cry games.
Indeed, we see some interesting things on this screenshot. We can also see, for example, this older car, which is nice to see, is also in the real Cuba. You see that a lot, of course. Then the big buildings on which you can probably do some parkour, some vertical gameplay will take place on those. We also see something very interesting, right, David?
Yes, actually we're seeing kind of a sort of a checkpoint here over the right with a big truck, and we're seeing soldiers carrying a big barrel with the red stuff they're spraying all over the island in it. We can also see the other soldier on the left that has some of the red stuff spilled over him, so it's definitely interesting that they're gonna put all these things in the big urban area.
And then we have the female main character over here and what looks like a makeshift weapon on the back of this character. So as Yara is isolated from the outside world, these people are not able to import new technology, and so they kind of have to make their own weapons, and that's what you can really see on the back of this character. So they are really improvising, making their weapons to fight back against the army of El Presidente, Anton Castillo. So it's definitely interesting to see. And there are a couple of other screenshots on which we can also see already these makeshift weapons. And one in particular is this one over here, in which we can definitely see that you, the main character, are wielding this makeshift weapon. And that is very interesting to see over here.
Yes, I love how creative they are with the design of these makeshift weapons. They all look awesome. Here we have some kind of makeshift nail gun. Yeah, it's really cool what they're doing with that. And of course, we are also seeing the gas being spread all over the island by these two airplanes.
That's right, Ubisoft made it really obvious that this is going to be the central plot device of the game indeed. So very interesting to see also on this screenshot. And I just want to emphasize that probably the color of El Presidente and his army is probably red, and then you can see it's also on these airplanes, of course. And then probably of the revolutionaries, because we see over here this flag, which is basically the symbol of the national flag of Yara, because we can see that in a screenshot of the official flag of Yara, is probably the flag of the revolutionaries as well, so the blue version of that. So probably the revolutionaries will be the blue color, and El Presidente and his army will be the red colored group that you fight against. And then also interesting, of course, on this screenshot is this horse. So it is basically confirmed we can do some horse riding in this game. And I also always like it when animals are involved into games. And that's not everything, because later we will see also a couple of other animals. But first, we're going to discuss this screenshot over here, because not only do we see another makeshift weapon over here, I really like how they put like a small laser themselves over here to serve then as a crosshair to shoot and aim. So that is of course very interesting to see over here. Then we see of course what looks to be like another checkpoint, and soldiers are talking here to people from the population just to make sure that they are probably in line with what they are doing. And then we see here a tank, David.
Yes, it's definitely a tank, and it really makes me excited for what we can do with this tank. I can only imagine taking control of it and stealing it and riding into the city. Probably the first time ever in Far Cry we're seeing a tank in the game.
Spoken like a true revolutionary, David. And actually, I've been to Cuba a couple of times over the past few years, and I've actually been on the west side of Cuba in a region called Vinales, and this screenshot really looks a little bit like it takes its inspiration from Vinales. And over there, this is where they make a lot of tobacco out of the tobacco plantations for the cigars, of course. And of course, these towering mountains that we see here, those are kind of characteristic for that region. So it's nice to see that Ubisoft really takes real life inspiration and puts it into the game.
And in the next screenshot, we're seeing another makeshift weapon, probably already one of the most iconic ones because it's in the collector's edition, and it's called El Tostador. And we're seeing a lot of other interesting stuff in this screenshot as well.
Yes, so it looks like the main character has already put the Tostador to good use. He has already inflamed an enemy over here, and this enemy is also very interesting. It looks like he is jumping either himself or I don't know, he's jumping into the water, but that appears to not be a very good idea, because if we zoom in a little bit closer we can actually see some small crocodiles, but these are definitely not human loving animals where he is jumping inside in. So that is very interesting to see, of course, that these animals will also be in the game. And like I said before, I like it when Far Cry is also implementing these wildlife elements. So the hunting, of course, you can probably hunt them, then use their skin for something, etc. So that is very interesting to see.
And it's also really interesting that Ubisoft already said in an interview that they're gonna have big rivers for these crocodiles to move around on the map. We're gonna get a really big map with rivers, and also I think this screenshot shows us more of a beach-like setting with a big mansion, and of course we can see that it's really storming here. So we're gonna get a lot of diversity once again.
Yes, dynamic weather, I think we can definitely look forward to that. And that's kind of everything that we can determine right now about Far Cry 6. So actually, Ubisoft still hasn't said a lot about the game itself, but we will probably know a lot more about Far Cry 6 during the June 12th 2021 Ubisoft Forward that they have announced. And during this event, they will present a lot of Ubisoft games, among which, of course, will be Far Cry 6. So we are definitely looking forward to that. And with that said, I would like to thank you all for watching, and thank you so much for supporting us, for commenting below our videos, and we'll see you next time.